10 stunning border perennials you'll regret not planting, zone-friendly. The garden that stops strangers in their tracks. Hello there, Earthly Delights family. Welcome back. Or if it's your first time here, I'm so glad you found your way to this little green corner of the internet. If you're someone who stops mid-walk to admire a blooming window box, who dreams of transforming that bare balcony or dull yard into a soft, fragrant sanctuary, you're in the right place. Maybe you've got a few indoor plants already thriving on your windowsill. Or maybe you're just starting to dip your toes into the gardening world, feeling a little overwhelmed by all the choices. Whether you're working with a city balcony, a tiny patio, or a full backyard oasis, today's video is made with you in mind. We're diving into 10 stunning border perennials, plants that not only survive but thrive with minimal fuss and bring that wow factor to your garden's edge. These are the showstoppers, the bee lovers, the quiet achievers that turn plain borders into vibrant masterpieces. So if you're ready to go beyond the pot and bring some lasting beauty outdoors, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what's blooming next here on Earthly Delights. 1. The drama star, Salvia nemorosa, the bee magnet. Let's begin with a plant that doesn't just grow, it performs. Salvia nemorosa, sometimes called woodland sage, is the kind of perennial that quietly steals the show without demanding much from you in return. Imagine tall, elegant purple spikes rising from a soft sea of green, gently swaying in the breeze, while bees and hummingbirds circle like enchanted visitors. This isn't just a plant, it's an invitation to life. If you're someone who's already nurturing herbs on your windowsill or dabbling in balcony containers, Salvia is your perfect next step into outdoor gardening. Why? Because it thrives on sunlight, doesn't complain about soil quality, and once established, it tolerates drought like a champ. It's tailor-made for gardeners who want beauty, but don't always have hours to spare. In zones 4 through 9, this beauty keeps blooming again and again with just a light trim. And here's a bonus. Rabbits and deer? Not fans. So if your garden's been more of a buffet for wildlife than a sanctuary, Salvia's got your back. Whether planted along a path, nestled beside stone borders, or paired with soft grasses, Salvia nemorosa offers that dreamy magazine-worthy contrast, without any of the fuss. 2. The soothing spiller, Nepeta, gentle, romantic flow. Now, if Salvia is the dramatic lead in your garden story, Nepeta is the quiet companion that makes everything feel softer, calmer, more complete. Often called catmint, but don't let the name mislead you. It's not just for felines. This graceful perennial is a favorite among human hearts and pollinators alike. Picture soft, billowy mounds of silver-green leaves spilling gently over the edge of your path or raised bed, and then lavender-blue blossoms that seem to float above like tiny butterflies. Nepeta brings that romantic, effortless charm, the kind that makes even a simple patio feel like an English countryside retreat. For those of you who love low-maintenance houseplants, you'll appreciate this. Nepeta thrives on neglect. Poor soil? No problem. Full sun? It adores it. Forget to water? It forgives. After its first bloom, just give it a quick haircut and it'll bounce back with another round, as if to say, "Don't worry, I've got you." It's the perfect choice for gardeners who want their borders to feel full, yet flowing, not rigid or over-designed. And while you're relaxing with a cup of tea nearby, you'll notice the bees doing their happy dance around it all summer long. With Nepeta, beauty isn't forced, it just unfolds. 3. The golden glow. Coreopsis, sunlight in plant form. There's something about golden blooms that stirs the spirit, like little bursts of sunshine rooted right into the soil. That's exactly what Coreopsis brings to your border garden. Whether you're a new plant parent still navigating your first pothos, or someone who's already dabbled in outdoor containers, Coreopsis is your golden invitation to light up the edges of your space. With its fine, feathery foliage and bright yellow or soft pink daisy-like flowers, Coreopsis doesn't just fill gaps, it enlivens them. Imagine these cheerful blooms swaying in the summer breeze, catching the light at just the right angle, and suddenly, even the dullest corner becomes radiant. Hardy from zones 4 to 9, this perennial thrives in full sun and doesn't demand much in return. It's that plant it and forget it type we all secretly hope for. Drought tolerant? Absolutely. Deer resistant? Yes. And for beginner gardeners who worry they'll do it wrong, Coreopsis gives you grace. It starts blooming in early summer and often keeps going until fall. When grouped together, it creates a golden river that runs along your garden's edge. And if you're feeling a little more adventurous, try pairing it with purples like lavender or salvia for a color contrast that truly sings. This isn't just a flower, it's a feeling. A reminder that sometimes the easiest things can be the brightest. 4. The bold architect, Echinacea, the sturdy showstopper. Now let's shift from delicate petals to something with a bit more presence. Echinacea, more commonly known as coneflower, isn't just a plant, it's a statement. This perennial stands tall like a garden sentinel, adding vertical drama and bold color wherever it's planted. If you're someone who craves structure but still wants that wild, pollinator-friendly charm, Echinacea delivers both in one beautiful package. Its blooms range from classic purples and pinks to newer varieties in fiery oranges and creamy whites. And once they open, they don't just flutter and fade. They hold strong, commanding attention while still feeling natural. For those of you growing in zones 3 through 9, this plant doesn't flinch at heat, poor soil, or dry spells. It's tough, dependable, and strangely elegant. Echinacea is a gift to busy gardeners and working souls who can't spend hours outside tending. It asks so little, yet gives so much. And when summer starts to fade, don't rush to cut it back. Let the seed heads stand. They become sculptural accents in your fall garden and a valuable snack for birds who come visiting. Use it as an anchor at the back of your border or in bold drifts through the center. Either way, it brings that essential sense of balance, a plant that holds space both visually and energetically. In a world that's constantly moving, Echinacea reminds us there's strength in simply standing tall. 5. The foliage fashionista, Heuchera, color without the flowers. While flowers may get most of the attention, every seasoned gardener knows foliage is the secret ingredient that makes a garden feel alive all year long. And when it comes to standout leaves, Heuchera is in a class of its own. Often called coral bells, this plant offers a kaleidoscope of color, from deep burgundy to lime green, and even shimmering silvers that catch the light in the most enchanting way. For anyone with a shady border that feels dull or lifeless, Heuchera is your remedy. It thrives in partial shade and doesn't need flowers to be the star. The leaves themselves are like a living palette, blending effortlessly with ferns, hostas, or even low-growing herbs. It's a plant for those who love texture, who notice the subtle shifts in light and form throughout the day. And if you're a container gardener, or transitioning from indoor to outdoor plant care, Heuchera's compact nature makes it a perfect fit for pots too. You can tuck it beside taller bloomers, or let it edge a walkway with color that never fades. Its flowers, while small and bell-shaped, float up like delicate accents. But make no mistake, the foliage is the real show here. For anyone who's ever stared at a leaf and marveled at its veins, its shimmer, its mystery, Heuchera speaks your language. Its style and substance bundled in one elegant plant. 6. The ground-hugging glow, Ajuga, the living carpet. Every garden needs a grounding presence, a plant that doesn't shout for attention, but instead ties the whole picture together. That's where Ajuga comes in. Known affectionately as bugleweed, this low-growing wonder acts like a living carpet, weaving color and texture into the spaces between your taller stars. Ajuga's glossy leaves can range from deep plum to bronze green, offering year-round interest even when nothing's in bloom. But when spring arrives, it surprises you with upright spikes of vibrant blue or purple flowers that shoot up like quiet fireworks. It's that mix of subtle and stunning that makes it unforgettable once you notice it. For anyone working with small spaces, shady patches, or awkward edges that never seem to thrive, this plant is a dream. Ajuga hugs the ground, spreads gently, and suppresses weeds as it grows. It thrives in part shade, but can handle full sun in cooler climates. And if you're balancing containers, beds, and a busy life, Ajuga asks for very little, yet always shows up looking fresh. It's also perfect around stepping stones, under shrubs, or even at the base of raised vegetable beds where you want beauty without fuss. And here's a bonus for families with pets or kids. It's tough, soft underfoot, and non-toxic. Ajuga doesn't need the spotlight to shine. It simply fills the gaps, beautifully, consistently, and with quiet grace. 7. The fragrant classic, Lavandula angustifolia. Now, let's pause for a moment and imagine this. You're walking past your garden, and with the brush of your hand against a silvery stem, the air fills with the calming scent of lavender. That's the magic of English lavender: elegant, aromatic, and surprisingly resilient. For those of you who already cherish fragrant herbs on your windowsill, this is the outdoor upgrade your senses have been waiting for. Lavender doesn't just charm the nose, it captivates the eye. Its soft gray-green foliage creates a soothing base, while the spikes of purple flowers bring a romantic Mediterranean feel to even the most modest border. Best suited for zones 5 through 9, this perennial thrives in well-drained soil and full sun. And yes, it absolutely hates wet feet, but once it's settled in, it's practically carefree. It's a dream plant for busy lives and sunny spaces. Tuck it near pathways, line your garden beds with it, or let it frame your entryway like a natural welcome mat. And the benefits don't stop at beauty. Bees adore it, while deer and rabbits prefer to stay far away. Whether dried for sachets or left to sway in the summer breeze, lavender offers something deeper than decoration. It brings a sense of calm, a scent of home, and a quiet reminder that gardens aren't just seen, they're felt. 8. The pollinator playground, Yarrow, Echinacea, wild spirit with structure. There's a certain kind of beauty that doesn't try to be perfect, it just is. That's the quiet power of Yarrow. With its flat, clustered flower heads and soft fern-like foliage, it strikes a rare balance between wild and refined. For gardeners who love both order and freedom, structure and soul, Yarrow offers the best of both worlds. Available in a range of warm shades, sunny yellows, deep reds, blush pinks, and clean whites, Yarrow invites color without overwhelming the eye. It works beautifully when planted in clusters, and its upright stems create a rhythm in your garden that feels almost musical. But beyond its looks, this plant brings a different kind of richness. For those of you gardening in hotter climates or struggling with poor dry soil, Yarrow is your resilient companion. Hardy from zones 3 to 9, it thrives where others might fade, soaking in the sun and holding strong through the heat. And if you shear it back halfway through the season, it rewards you with a fresh new flush of blooms. Pollinators adore it. Butterflies dance between the blooms, bees hum with joy, and even beneficial insects are drawn in, creating a living ecosystem right at your border's edge. And when you snip a few stems for a vase indoors, you're bringing a piece of that gentle wilderness inside. Yarrow isn't just a plant. It's a statement that says this garden is alive, buzzing, and beautifully untamed. 9. The fall hero, Sedum Autumn Joy, the succulent that doesn't quit. As summer begins to slip into autumn, many gardens start to fade, but not Sedum Autumn Joy. Just when other plants are winding down, this one is gearing up. With its thick, fleshy leaves and rosy flower heads that deepen to a rich copper red, it steps into the spotlight and quietly carries your border through the changing season. For anyone who's ever struggled with plants that flop or fade before fall even arrives, Sedum offers a kind of quiet reliability. It holds its shape, stands tall, and doesn't complain about drought or poor soil. That makes it a dream for gardeners who want long-lasting structure without constant care. And if you're in zones 3 to 9, you're in luck. This beauty thrives across a wide range of climates. Its blooms aren't just pretty, they're purposeful. Bees and butterflies flock to the late-season flowers, feeding before the cold sets in. And here's a little secret. If you leave the dried seed heads through winter, they stand like sculptures dusted with snow, offering texture and quiet beauty, even in the coldest months. Sedum works perfectly tucked among grasses, alongside low-growing herbs, or as a transition between vibrant summer blooms and the subtle tones of fall. It's the plant that finishes strong. For every gardener who's ever wished their garden could linger a little longer into the season, Autumn Joy is nature's way of saying, it can. 10. The cottage classic, Shasta daisy, simplicity that shines. There's something timeless about a daisy. Its clean white petals and bright yellow center speak a language of joy, simplicity, and childhood wonder. And among all daisies, the Shasta stands tall, literally and figuratively, as the classic choice for border charm. If your vision of a garden includes open space, sunshine, and a touch of nostalgia, this perennial belongs in your story. Shasta daisies are more than just pretty faces. They bloom generously from early to late summer, creating waves of crisp color that brighten any edge. For gardeners in zones 4 through 9, they're a gift that keeps on giving. Tough enough to handle heat, happy in full sun, and easygoing with soil as long as it drains well. This is the plant for those of you who love low-effort impact. Once established, it requires little more than an occasional deadheading to keep the blooms coming. And when placed in drifts or nestled between bolder perennials like coneflowers or yarrows, the Shasta adds a pause, a breath, a moment of clarity in a busy border. It also happens to be an excellent cut flower, lasting long in vases and carrying that garden-fresh energy indoors. Whether you're designing a romantic cottage garden or simply want a reliable bloom by the front steps, the Shasta daisy reminds us that beauty doesn't need to be complicated. Sometimes it's the simplest flowers that stay with us the longest. 11. The fresh addition, Gaura lindheimeri, the butterfly whisperer. Just when you think your border has everything it needs, Gaura lindheimeri sweeps in like a soft breeze, unexpected, graceful, and utterly enchanting. This airy perennial is the definition of movement in the garden. Its long, slender stems seem to dance on their own, and the delicate white or blush-pink blossoms flutter like tiny butterflies caught in flight. For those of you craving a garden that feels light and alive without the burden of heavy maintenance, Gaura is a dream come true. It thrives in full sun, welcomes dry soil, and asks for very little water, making it perfect for gardeners in hot or drought-prone areas. And despite its delicate appearance, this plant is surprisingly tough, holding its form even through harsh summers. Gaura's magic lies in its unpredictability. It doesn't bloom in tight clusters or formal rows. It floats, leans, sways. It brings a sense of wild beauty to borders that might otherwise feel too polished or static. And if you're a fan of native grasses or naturalistic planting styles, Gaura bridges that gap between form and freedom effortlessly. Whether it's tucked among bold bloomers or allowed to stretch along a sunny path, Gaura adds that whisper of magic, something that stirs the senses yet remains soft and subtle. It's the kind of plant you don't just see, you feel, and once it's part of your garden, you won't want to imagine it without it. 12. The edge softener, lamb's ear, Stachys byzantina. Every garden needs a quiet moment, a gentle touch that softens the lines and soothes the senses. That's the role lamb's ear plays in a border. With its velvety silver leaves and low-growing form, it's the kind of plant that doesn't shout for attention, yet draws you in with its calming presence. If you've ever run your fingers across a soft houseplant and smiled, you'll instantly connect with the magic of this one. Lamb's ear is ideal for edging paths, outlining garden beds, or filling in those tricky spaces where nothing else seems to thrive. It's a favorite among kids and curious hands, inviting to the touch and safe to explore. And for adults who crave a sense of softness in an often hectic world, this plant is a visual and tactile exhale. It prefers full sun and well-drained soil, thriving in zones 4 through 9. And once it settles in, it requires very little to stay happy, making it a smart pick for busy gardeners or those designing low-maintenance landscapes. The silvery foliage holds its color through the season, even when flowers have faded away. Occasionally, it sends up quirky flower spikes, but truly, it's the leaves that win hearts. Paired with bold colors or planted alongside fellow soft-toned companions like Lavender or Nepeta, lamb's ear brings quiet cohesion to a border. It's the plant equivalent of a whisper, grounding your garden with elegance, texture, and timeless calm. The border beyond beauty, your garden, your canvas, and just like that, we've reached the end. But really, this is just the beginning. You've now met 12 incredible perennials, each with its own personality, purpose, and poetry. Together, they create more than just a border. They form a living, breathing frame for the world you're building outside your door. Whether you're working with a narrow side yard, a modest balcony, or an ever-expanding garden dream, these plants are your allies. They're for those of you who crave beauty but live busy lives. For those who've turned a corner of a patio into a sanctuary. For anyone who's ever whispered to a leaf or smiled at the sight of a bee doing its sacred work. This list isn't about perfection, it's about possibility. About knowing that even if you only plant one, that one can change the feel of a space. It can welcome you home, soften your day, and remind you that something is growing, even when life feels still. So tell me, did one of these plants speak to you? Drop it in the comments. Share your garden zone or the space you're dreaming of transforming. And if this journey inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Earthly Delights, where we turn soil and sunlight into something extraordinary. Because here, your garden isn't just a space, it's a story. And you, my friend, are the storyteller.